Well, I couldn't.
The worksheets.
This is January 19th, and Senate Appropriations is continuing its work on the fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment. And we're gonna just be working off this spreadsheet that was provided by the administration. Obviously, the House's, the goal is to pass out at least preliminary, finishing through the Appropriations Committee today. I think they might vote it out officially early next week. But I thought it would be helpful if we just kind of went through and for our own purposes, close out sections that we think are not controversial, or we, you know, whether we like it or not, we're gonna have to pay. So, Senator Lyons, do you need help?
No, I got it.
Oh,
Thank you
good.
very much.
Because I volunteer Senator Westman. So our first line is public safety, that's the overtime for state police. I would say we close it out. And military, this is the air service contract. Seemed like that was pretty straightforward, in terms of the 100,000 state match, under the cooperative agreement. Cannabis Control Board, we had, Bryn here in, and the only thing that we can kind of set aside that isn't on here, and that's a request for the 2 additional positions. Or you want,
Lines.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably important if we're gonna get, you know, get a regulated market that works.
Well, yeah. Mhm.
I
So,
didn't hear anything they said.
no, and of course,
Yeah.
they're generating the revenues to cover it, and right now, Chris sent me a email that we are ahead of projections as it relates to the revenues from cannabis sales tax and excise tax.
Are the positions in this slide? Because this-
No,
I don't see
no,
it there.
they are not, and she came in and requested that,
Right.
and so.
We had them in ag and.
Yeah, so I think that what we would do is, we would close out the money here on the list. And I guess everybody's in agreement that we would, authorize the creation of the 2 positions requested. I think one was a. was
Did
one
they
a
want those in
supervisor.
the BAA? or-
Yes, we have to create the positions.
Well, I just didn't know if we had to do it with the BAA.
Yes, I think that was the
Fiscal-
request. I think the request was they needed them now. And I think,
Yeah, it takes 6 months to hire.
yeah, it really does. And I think, well, Senator Sears, as you said, if you're gonna regulate, you've gotta have,
Yeah.
you've gotta have the regular, you've got to have the, staffing capability to enforce compliance. So, we'll agree with the money and then we'll agree and we'll have to add the money for the 2 requested positions. All right, Agency of Human Services. You wanna just set that aside for now?
Yeah.
And we'll move on to maybe ones that are less involved. Which would get us down to education. What?
Who away with it?
Oh.
I mean, I meant the education department.
No, it's an agency now.
We already did away with the department. That you wanna do away with the agency too?
Yeah.
We'll take that under advisement.
So did we skip corrections?
Well,
Yes, we're, corrections is AHS, so
Probably should be in the. Probably should go with legislation.
what?
Do away with it.
I mean, if you want to close out corrections, it's a side agreement that's obviously,
Yeah, they need the.
so we can
Yeah, I
close
thought-
that out,
Yeah.
because that's kind of,
Justice Green, sorry, but.
Oh, yeah.
Justice Oversight Committee. Got Zone A's committee and. Everybody.
so we'll move ahead on corrections, and then move down to,
So we're gonna close the 13.
we're closing out, Justice Reinvestment 2, the 564.
Okay.
That's what I think that's what you were talking about, Senator Sears.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to, Vets Home. And a big part of that is general fund.
Well, I'd like to come back to that, because I found it interesting on the drugs, and the memory of former member of the committee to manage.
Is he watching?
Well, he may want to weigh in on that as part of the auditor's office.
No.
Well, he's, I keep getting these little texts.
Well, I know.
Well, you
He's
probably
watching
have one
all the
shortly.
time, you know, it's like, and it's like, oh, there's Tim again.
Well, he may be watching, and I'd just love to.
All right, so we will hold that,
But,
and
99,988 dollars.
what do you want?
No,
That's what we do.
That's for drugs.
You just, I was gonna hold the whole thing,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but if you wanna just hold that,
No, that's fine.
I was just gonna do it as a,
Yeah.
yeah, they're coming next week, so.
Yeah.
Why don't we hold the whole thing?
Yeah.
Now we're down to education, which Senator Sears has already eliminated.
I've already given you my opinion, but if you're gonna keep an education agency, then I suppose we ought to fund it. But I think you definitely.
Who's our education person?
Senator Ruth,
No, yeah. I think-
Senator Baruch is, I believe.
who's education.
So what about, all right, well, certainly the next one, the 3.6, which is the big one, we know we have to do. That was a, mistake in the calculation, and
Yep.
there's been a commitment, so I think we can close that out. And I think anything that reduces money, which the first one does, well, why would we argue with the 930 down?
Yeah.
Yes. So,
And
unless we disagree that something bad is happening from it.
the 400,000 or 4 million for after school moved to.
To adjust.
Yeah, that special fund is fine, that's, so we'll close that, and also,
what's the seven?
7 is just, it's just touring up to the actual,
Yeah.
amount.
Kind of a normal thing they do every year.
Yeah.
All right, state colleges, the allied health, and what we're doing is bringing in Medicaid dollars through global commitment. So it reduces the general fund there, and
You like that?
we like that, so, we'll like that and close it out.
Yep.
Okay, all right, fish and wildlife, reclassification, we don't have much choice. The position gets reclassified. And, 3.5, this is to move the money from, waste, air and waste management, people have a feeling about that.
Mediation and.
Yeah, it seemed like Julie, in our
PCB.
effort to ask her, said that this money was available without having a detrimental impact on air and waste management. That would seem to be part of it, but people have an opinion on that. Do you want to hold it? See what?
Well, it would be good to know
What?
if we're having a negative effect.
Well, I think we tried to ask the
Yeah.
secretary
I
that.
don't know if we got the.
I'd like to add for better information.
All right, let's hold it. Okay.
Ask her to come back.
Or we might have a communication. One of the things that the House does is send everything out to the policy committees, and they make, that there is a response on that, probably from Abe Shelton. And I think might have agreed, but we'll can hold it for now, since it's taking from one fund. We will hold. Now we're down to the bottom of the page, ACCD.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't want to get.
Well, this is just a technical amendment,
Right.
that would spend authority to the correct approach, so I think it's just technical correction. So I think we should,
Well, it's called, so that we feel like there's.
well, it's a copy because it's up somewhere else. Just move it. VHCD, no, I'm sorry, it's housing and community development, it's not VHCD.
But technically,
Let's see.
Well, 100,000 is the change, is the,
Oh, this is the change, this
right,
Yeah.
is the switch.
then the 2.29. I don't know what that is.
special funds is 2.2 million.
To align the appropriation with the
Increasing is 100, yeah.
language and the numbers didn't align, so this is just making it.
So I think we'll agree with both, because the 100 we're seeing here is just 100 we've got moved out the section before.
Yeah.
So we can close that out. And the other is just technical amendment to align the appropriation. Debt service,
Favorite.
I'm gonna hold this.
Yeah, what the heck, that,
that's not,
What it's about is changing the debt
Oh,
service
yeah.
from an appropriation to a transfer, and thus not making it subject to the 5% statutory reserve set aside. So by not having to consider 5% against the debt service amount, it frees up 3.5 million that they, I'm sure, are going to be using in the budget the governor gives us on Tuesday.
of course.
And we did get the memo from the treasurer's office that said 3.5 in the scheme of things
De minimis.
with de minimis, right? But if you set the precedent, which I think we have done an appropriation for debt service, my memory is back in 2010. We had Beal, I don't know, was it something 1100? It's our debt service. Well, it's right here, B 1100. So it's a bad precedent. The question is, and this isn't even a bad fiscal year. So that the treasurer's office was, well, this amount is small, but don't let it be a practice.
Yeah, well,
But also they said it was still following the gas. So that made it,
Yeah.
it seems like we couldn't do it for everything because we're still following the accounting.
yes.
I'm not worried.
Well-
That, I agree, we should hold it.
Well, hold it.
I
See
think we
what
can
the
hold.
house does.
I mean, I'm not falling on my sword
Yeah.
either way. I'm just, it's a word of caution
Sure.
that sometimes something seems like an easy way of picking up money, but long-term,
comes back.
it comes back. Obviously, this amount isn't of such magnitude, to do that. So I'll hold it.
We don't know what the house is.
No, and they have to do it this year, because it's calculated on, I don't know, right here.
Didn't we approve these one touch or?
These are the FEMA matches,
Oh, yeah,
that,
because of the recent.
because of the flood, and the estimate is that this is only really a down payment on what the match requirements are gonna be.
So
And
we
so
don't have any choice.
we don't have any choice. Actually, we know that this isn't
It
enough.
was an interesting conversation on the floor today. Regarding,
About sure.
about the bill, but about to expect more of this, it might not even get to the stage of being a disaster declaration, but you're going to have these events which are localized and cause significant damage. We saw that with bridges and water.
Exactly.
It's just localized events and
And that makes what is the overall ongoing capacity. Because it used to be like every 100 years or something. And
yeah, now it's
Every year.
every year or
Yeah.
every 10 years.
Well, we haven't done anything
Although I will say,
separate from all the.
the investments that we make now in infrastructure. If you look at some of the places that were first had the most damage in Irene. And where we fixed things, in Bennington, for example, in the river,
That was a.
we did a lot of stuff that we weren't supposed to do. At the EPA. And then
It's a dredging.
yeah, we did dredging and stuff, but that river was right up to the Silk Road Bridge, but it never went over, it never. flooded a little bit downstream in an area that we call Paperville Village, that floods all the time, before Paperville. But other than that, we didn't have any flooding, and then when I drove up, there was only one area on Route 107 that suffered damage, one small area that had a sinkhole. All of the repairs that they did during our.
And that was the segment last to open, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. Yeah, we were using that road,
Oh, yeah.
dirt road.
Oh, right, yeah.
Almost a
And
year.
the new culvert in Brandon, where they had, so the larger.
So I think that those investments are good.
Well, I think
They're
we need to, we know we need this and more, so
Yeah.
I think we should, close it out. The modernization, this is basically, they have the money for the project, but they don't have the staffing. Is that really what we were, the personal services, which would be, if you're gonna do a major replacement of your personnel, human resources, and your, financial system, you've got to have staff dedicated, to the project.
It's like contract staff.
No, I think it's maybe, I think it's probably a domino effect. You're having to allocate the people that know the most about your business. And then you've got to backfill with them. I think that's how it usually works. Because I think the funding for the IT project and development has already been appropriated.
They're coming in next week, right?
So I'm gonna hold it because we haven't taken testimony on it. Okay. Right now, next is HR providing funding for 7 positions. Oh, so this is, down one place and then up the other. It's just moving it from one to the other, so that's more technical than the whole, so that, I think we would agree with just getting it on the right line. Libraries,
We always agree on fixing them. Administrations.
As
We always agree on fixing mistakes. Pretty much, it's the whole life.
yes, we do, because we know that,
Fight all day over libraries, it's 11,000.
I'd like to spend a lot of time on it. What they're doing is reverting and reappropriating. Reverted in this act and a new one time. Why didn't
$11,550.
why didn't they bother to revert it?
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it goes to
Working
carry.
group extended or something?
No, but
You could
why
just
revert
carry
it,
forward.
reoppose, why
not
not you carry it forward?
Yeah.
Do we care?
No.
We like library.
We like libraries, that's not the issue.
You like libraries and it's $11,000. Should
All right,
we
here's-
fight all day?
Here's 6 million. This is ag, and this is just simply to give the spending authority with the money that's already been appropriated. A&R had the money, this is to get it to ag, and ag needs the spending authority to put the money out.
Right.
So, ag members, yes or no?
Yeah.
I'd say yes, I would say when you're bringing up ag, that the chair of the committee's probably gonna have an nasty budget adjustment.
Over and above the organic farmers?
Yeah, that organic farmer part,
Yeah, investment in budget adjustment.
Pardon?
You gonna put more work in budget adjustment?
It isn't pork, it's
Oh,
just
Milk.
fulfilling of obligation that, we thought we had covered, but it came in.
The organic farms.
Yeah, it's 254, something like that. Well, maybe the house is gonna put it in.
Well, maybe they've asked the.
Well, you asked the commissioner, and he said he was gonna go back and he thought they could deal with it within, the money they had. But I haven't heard back.
right?
Have you heard back from Secretary?
Yes, and they don't want to do that.
They said that? Who said that?
Well, they
Who
said
is
they.
the they? What's the pronoun?
Hanson, I deal with.
Hanson is they?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll deal with that we'll see what the House did.
But the house, I know that was the ag committee sent a request to their committee on the road, so it may be in when it
Yeah.
comes on. But there is a question about 100,000 of that,
100,000 of the 254?
yeah. And it deals with
Somebody went out of business, that issue.
in between the October and November cutoff date and now.
Well, let me ask you this. Did we have some language that went with the appropriation that basically said the program operates till the money runs out? So if we're putting, and so if we're putting in new money, we could put in new conditions to say, to address that very issue.
Because we've
That
got,
would get it down to 154.
right, and we have, if we had that much left over, we have I have a lot better use for that money than giving it to somebody that went out of business.
Look, we're having to add more money, we just wanna add more money and use the other 100,000 for something else. We'll have to.
I'm getting
So
confused.
I
No, I'm not getting confused how his mind's going.
No, this is
The,
more of that.
we talked to Michael O'Grady today about that, and he's gonna spend more time on researching the exact language and.
Well, my only point is,
Because I don't wanna get a black eye paying somebody that
I wanna-
shouldn't be paid.
that's why it's really important, that's why I said if the language was, it's first come, first serve, and if you get in and your application is after the money's gone, then we have the language that it creates no obligation. But if we then say, well, we do wanna help, we recognize some didn't qualify, but so we could, if we do additional money, it could come with new parameters, I would think. And that would be, you still have to be in business to get it.
Well, the four that are gonna share in all this. Four of them are still we're in business at the time, they were all in business and applied on time and were approved on time. But they were the last 5 that, of all of them on the list, and the first one of the 5 got a partial payment of $14,000 or $15,000. But since they got that payment, they've gone out of business, so the question is, because we paid them part of it, do we own all of it? Or, I mean, we didn't wanna pay anybody.
If we put language in that basically says when the money's gone, the program shuts down,
Right,
then I would say they're lucky they got the 14 and that nothing more is due. If we're coming back and saying, well, we're gonna do a new appropriation, we can put the rules and the parameters with the new money. That's my point here. And,
I hadn't thought of that, but that's
you hadn't thought of that?
not new rules, but
Oh, well, I
New
think we can
criteria.
because it could be, it's a new appropriation.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that would,
well, we can talk about how we might make that work. If we're. Okay. Let's see, we're down. Green Mountain Care Board. A waiver, to extend, their contract, so that is, I'm sure, people are all right with that reduction.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any
yeah,
visceral response.
That one.
All right, now these two I'm gonna hold.
Yeah, emergency housing.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, we know that
I mean, we'll know what it does, but it doesn't do,
it doesn't close the gap.
doesn't solve.
No. All right, so now we're down to the miscalculation. From to the LEAs. And I think our agreement that we have a commitment that we would correct it.
Yeah.
schools accepted the money, the, amounts that were given out to them and, we got some communication that's what they had built, they were spending in good faith around the wrong information. So
What did we do to the shelters?
we're holding,
Good, okay,
because we need to,
yes.
so those two are,
Help help. It can really penetrate.
all right, the next one we have to do because our motion at joint fiscal was to advance the money with the, commitment that it would be replaced, so this
Did
is.
they get the grant that this was good for? Do we?
I'm not sure, but, the language says it could be available for other.
Right, if they don't get the grant,
Yeah.
right.
So I think this is just fulfilling the commitment that we made when we, approved that, advance.
I like this one, made the correction from the board today, when they said that this bill that went through, it was the first help for anybody with the flood. This 20 million is the first help.
No, I said the first bill that we were putting out.
I thought you said it was the first help that went out. This was the first.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean that nobody had been helping the flood victims.
No, actually, we also took, money, BEI, Efficiency Vermont. And the 10 million that I believe that we
Yeah.
allocated for the replacement of heating systems and appliances.
Yeah.
So we had like 30 million very, very quickly at the beginning. Right, so next is 1101D4. Since to convert appropriation B11 from general fund, so we're leveraging federal funds here. And where is,
Just moving it.
It's just so boring.
I wish I could make it more exciting.
Well, I
Would
mean,
you like another chocolate or?
no, I don't know, but,
Hmm,
I may have to leave the windows open all the way home. Just stay awake.
what is 11 can you look it up, Amy, 1101D4? Obviously, they're leveraging federal dollars because they're moving it just from general fund.
Yeah.
And you can see the bottom, we don't even need to do it, those two lines go together, they're taking 3 million general fund. And, the next line down. Just moving it up, and leveraging the federal funds and therefore smoothing out some-
DMH something.
Yeah,
Then you got the Green Mountain Reservoir, River Reservoir.
so I'm going to close that because all that's doing is leveraging
I've
general.
never heard of the Green Mountain Reservoir.
They're not-
Green River?
Green River.
Yeah, skip
Yeah,
on.
it's up by Hyde Park,
Oh,
Susan Barlow.
Do you want to skip over them?
Here's the Green River.
I'm good with this.
the Green River.
I'm gonna do a TV show about the Green River.
What about the Green Light Creek that's up there in Berlin?
The green light.
Lake Carmine?
Well, that's a green lake.
Well, this is the Green River Reservoir, and I guess the question is whether the state should acquire ownership. And,
No, it's an assessment of the dam itself and what kind of shape.
yeah, but that might determine,
Right.
it wants to take on that
It
dog.
might,
Pardon me for not being so nuanced in my explanation.
that's not a dog, it's a very popular state park.
I didn't mean to diminish the
It would be
importance
a
of
very
that,
valuable acquisition to our state.
but it could be a very expensive acquisition.
We're just trying.
We don't know
But
that.
remember the rivers on the dams on the Connecticut River, remember that discussion?
Yes.
What about
Scudder Parker.
The state bank.
it? Oh, no, Vince Saluzzi wanted to buy
And
them.
this,
So did Scudder, that was. his
And then
campaign.
the price on power would have plummeted. We couldn't have even covered the debt service on the acquisition, but,
Did they go through the same thing discussing whether to buy Alaska or not?
I'm sure they did. It was an impulse buy.
It was Seward's air,
Probably quality, right?
no,
It's a good thing he did it.
no,
Yeah,
it's called
that
Seward's
was a
Ice
good
Box.
buy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Buy.
Nice spot.
Seward's Ice Box is what
He,
it's called.
he lives next door to my grandmother.
I gotta see them going through the same process. Should we buy Alaska? Here we
Well,
have
you know,
a
actually,
green
we're
brick.
gonna have another request that, we'll take testimony on next week, and it has to do with, the acquisition of an armory, because the military is getting, a grant to build a new facility in St. Albans. But they need to own the land, and so to do that, they wanna sell the armory in, no, in Waterbury. And apparently it's in wonderful shape, and it comes with several acres of
They were
land,
gonna
so.
sell
Up
the,
in
But the
Waterbury,
Waterbury Armory's in good shape.
I-
Are you buying it or?
I don't know, maybe it's shelter to me, I don't have much.
Yes.
You know what Bobby always says?
Yes.
Buy high, sell it.
yeah.
Yes, but-
Well, I think any of these armories that are up,
yeah.
they're gonna close. We always just pick them up for.
Well, they were gonna sell the Bennington Armory, but they changed their mind. The town had already.
They make a good homeless shelter.
Because why should,
That's true.
why should we let the government,
We all came up with it.
So committee, I didn't mean to precipitate a whole different conversation. I just wanted to put you on notice that I think next week we would have the adjutant general and BGS.
Okay.
Because this used to be time sensitive relative to a federal grant deadline. And so I'm not sure that there's time to deal with it on the House to get the testimony. So,
I wonder it'd be a good place for a homeless shelter.
so long-term,
Affordable housing.
yeah, all I know is that they feel that the property has utility, it's wonderful,
They, they're
land.
selling, who thinks that?
No, the administration,
Because they want.
BGS, yeah,
Mhm.
but, I'm just putting you on notice, we're gonna hear from ERP next week, we're also gonna hear from, we'll hear from the adjutant general and on that. And depending on how our time works, Julia Richter, maybe Chris will come as well and sort of give us a primer on, tax, the whole, property tax, CLA, calculation of the yield, et cetera, in light of, all the, discussion going on in terms of the potential spending that's being proposed by local schools. And, last 2 years ago, there was, because of the waiting and to try to provide a cushion or ramp down, on towns that would be negatively impacted by the waiting, they put in a 5% cap on homesteads. And now, so it's
5%
5%
on the rate.
on the rate, sorry, yeah, the homestead rate. And so schools have actually, I have a copy of a communication that went out that basically said, well, let's spend as much as we need above the 5% because it won't have any impact on the tax rate. It's like the money's free. But if you're capping the rate on increase on the homestead, you still have to raise the revenue. There's not free money.
Other
And
people are paying.
other people would be paying, including, your struggling small businesses to, yes, you do have second homeowners, but you also have many of those, buildings or apartments, and therefore rents are already, difficult, and so those higher rates would impact that group of property owners, very dramatically. So there's such an interplay, and then you've got your income sensitivity piece, which comes with a different set of rules. And in this environment, it's taking on more importance than ever.
That would be part of this.
No, that's setting, no, what it is the legislature has to set the rates at a level that will generate the money needed by the budgets as they're passed, I mean, and collectively by all the towns. So I just wanted to let you know that Julia and people have indicated interest in understanding that, process better.
And just, not everybody may know, but, Emily Kornheiser for Ways and Means and Ann sent a letter to districts pointing out that this was, you know, to say the least, not the intent behind the language, and that they were disadvantaged in other communities if they do this. So kind of putting pressure on them to avoid this tactic.
And it has a very circular impact,
Yeah.
because then everybody has to pick it up, and those that
Yeah.
might not be under the 5 actually are gonna go up, and, so the, funding and the taxing, and there's, as we say, there's very little that doesn't have some cause somewhere, but,
Yeah.
so that's just to let you know what next week looks like.
Yeah.
So we're moving along quite quickly here.
What did we do with Richie's Dam?
I think we
Bought it.
bought it, where we thought we would finish. Do you have a recommendation on that you would?
I thought it was all done and it was in.
It's
I think Bobby is, just causing trouble.
I see.
But what's in is finishing the evaluation, right?
To give the, yes, additional information.
Then we'll buy.
Oh,
If you buy it for 165, that'd be.
Wow. If we
I
buy,
think, didn't they want to sell it to us for $1?
I think they give it to you if you take it,
Yeah.
but, the agency won't take it.
without this really fully understanding what taking it in
Right,
yeah.
the opposite.
Somebody's on it.
Alright, yeah,
Richie, come down once.
how are we doing here? Page 4, how many pages do we have?
5.
5, that's not bad, and it's only quarter after.
I,
There,
So
you
I'm
forgetting something?
That's what,
We have to go back to the agency fee.
no, we're not gonna do that today.
Oh.
Friday afternoon,
Okay.
it's not where we're gonna take half of state government. Because, and we also took the housing, emergency housing piece and set it aside, unless you wanna stay here till about this part.
No, that's okay.
yeah, I'd like to leave it.
I know,
2:15.
well, that's about now.
2:30.
I know.
So-
Your series wants to talk about the state liability insurance fund.
You know, I think we should probably, break here. I think this is a good place to break. We really have gone through everything pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
We don't have too many areas that we just don't feel.
Well, we certainly been
Silver
over,
Lions came
What?
up today.
we certainly been over it all in the
Updated
last couple of
Yeah.
weeks.
drug list 2019. The xylazine is not on the prohibited list.
Oh,
So I'm thinking that we have them
should ask them.
do a
to
new
that.
list in budget adjustment.
Steve, that's fine with
By
me.
March 15th or something like
Yeah.
that, because we need to make sure that that's an illegal drug.
You know, I was talking to, the folks at Valley Vista, and they've been in business, what, over 20 years
Yeah.
now?
He's,
And, they, you know, what they were saying is the severity of, and the complexity of the patient's needs that are coming in. And they said xylazine has just been horrible. People are coming in with, you know, sores, one person, I don't know, male, female, doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Actually was scheduled for an amputation. And so it's just so insidious when you,
was our testimony today from the lab, the criminal lab, this Department of Public Safety. And she said that they only to recover from an overdose of that, they use naloxone to get rid of any fentanyl or anything else that was in there, but once, I mean, for the xylazine, they have to do CPR and other efforts to keep the person alive. So that's where a lot of these overdoses are coming from, because the EMTs don't know what they took.
And the
The
contamination
person,
is
the
now.
Narcan doesn't work, they use like
But-
3 or 4
but
cans of
vets need,
Narcan.
but xylazine is used by vets.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I understand. So the drug would still be a permissible
Yeah, it's a
Or
schedule,
equine.
there's a, I don't completely understand it, I'm sure.
I think it's
it's-
but I forgot.
there's a schedule, even like OxyContin is on the schedule, so if you're using it appropriately, it's not against the law. If you're using it
It's prescribed.
illegally, it's against the law.
All right, well, we're getting into,
It's a good thing to put in, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's the other thing, if there, things that we're going to have to look for, we've already talked about the organic farm issue, payments, we can talk about adding that. There may be some other things that will come our way, including the, acquisition of this property.
Would you like, you know, in ag, we could do a little more heavy lifting in regards to,
I don't think so. I think you've already asked Michael Grady to take a look at the
Yeah.
language that we passed last year. We can take a look and, see.
in there, the agency's attorney sort of feels like I.
Well, I think I would, you know, if we're doing an
But.
additional appropriation, you could put some parameters around what we're using that money for, so.
I mean,
And that would be the easiest way. So with that, I am going to suggest that we call it a week and adjourn and go